guys, it's Bridget. So today I'm going to tell you about a couple of spirit journeys that I went on when I was doing 2 separate back-to-back guided meditations. And I really love guided meditations because I often journey on them or during them. And so yeah, let's get into it. I think they were pretty cool, and I figured maybe this information would be good for you guys too. So the first one, I'm going to just skip what the meditation was about because I don't think I really actually followed that meditation at all. Whereas the second one, I'll tell you what the meditation was about and we'll move from there because I feel like I did sort of follow that one in the journey and then went beyond it. So the first one, you know, they were guiding me to reach up. So my natural instinct, because of all the spirit journeying that I've done, is to leave my body in the very trance-like meditative state and to travel up almost in an astral form. And so I'm rising up, and I was experiencing some choppiness during what would probably be like the 8th and 9th dimensions. And if that gets a little too beyond your head, it's okay, just skip that part. So I was really having to focus. And then I experienced another bit of choppiness, and the next thing I knew, this huge wave of beautiful energy was flowing toward me, almost like silk fabric in water. And it was flowing from above, so it was coming up and down. It was flowing from above, and it was coming down toward me. And it was this beautiful medium pink, and it had these huge ribbons of this medium to light blue in it and gold, like liquid gold, that were flowing with it. And so I followed it. And I followed it up as far as, you know, I felt comfortable. And then I saw white light above it, but it was really far above it. And it was this beautiful white light. And I stopped once I saw the white light, and to my right was this giant door that was cut out of what would be space, because I'm actually doing all of this in space. And it was a perfect rectangle. It was really giant, and it had a threshold all the way around where it looked like space just folded over and created the threshold. And out of the door was coming a different type of energy, but it was like pure white. And it was kind of fuzzy on the outside, almost like snow on an old TV. Some of you won't even know what that looks like, but you could probably Google it. So I'm stepping toward the door, and I'm looking at it, and I'm noticing within the white light are all of these different colors. Little pinpricks of them just scattered about. So there was pink, there was green, and it was like a pale pink and like a palish green. A light blue, a lavender, a gold, a yellow, an orange. All of these different colors were within this light as pinpricks. And the feeling that I got was like it was the most beautiful thing I had ever encountered. It was so gorgeous. And it was flooding me with this beauty, this love energy. And so I got really excited. And I think during this part of the actual meditation, I was supposed to be crossing a door, through a door. So I got really excited. I could feel that there were beings inside of there, and it felt kind of like my guides. So I flew through the door really fast. And the next thing I know, I'm back in front of the door. It was like I wasn't supposed to go through it just yet. So as soon as I heard you can cross the threshold into the door, or whatever they said, all of a sudden I went through, and as I'm crossing this threshold, I realized, oh no, they're going to see darkness inside of me. And it wasn't like a fear really, and it wasn't really a judgment. It was just more or less an acknowledgement that being human had given me some darkness inside of me. And so as I felt that, I was also feeling super excited, like a little kid on Christmas, to meet whoever was on the other side of this door. And so I'm running through full of love, full of excitement, had that moment, which was really quick, and then realized that if I expanded myself and absorbed this energy, that it would do something. And so I did that, and immediately all of the little dark spots were dissipated and just didn't exist anymore in me. So I'm crossing over, and there are all these different beings, and they're all the color of the light, but I can sense their shape within it. and it's more of a visual and a feeling sense. And then I go in and I'm essentially hugging all of them with my energy at the same time, because that's just kind of how I am. So, you know, those of you that know me know that's how I am. So I'm just running up, and it's like I split into, you know, I don't know, 15, 20 different pieces of myself, even though I wasn't actually splitting. And I hugged everyone, and they were giant. They were like 12 feet tall, maybe taller. So when I was hugging them, I was coming up to like what would be, I don't know, like maybe they're below their diaphragm. And then as I'm standing there, after I'm hugging everyone, 5 of them stepped forward, 1 in front of me, out of all of them that were there. And I started to notice that my shape was changing, or my energy was changing, would be a better way to describe it. And I started to notice that I had absorbed this energy. And so I started to expand myself and become really full of this energy. And then I realized, I had this realization that this is actually who I am. And it was pretty amazing for me. Because what it felt like was the most amazing thing. So it felt like love that had every other positive, what we know to be emotion, within it. And it was all one state of being. All of those things wrapped into love. And so I felt amazing. And I felt like this is my home. This is where I'm supposed to be. And as I expanded, I could also sense that this place that we were wasn't a room. It's like I stepped into a dimension, and it just kept going forever. And everybody had that. There was no strife here. There was no hardship here. Everyone just kind of coexisted in this beautiful energy. But everyone did have their own personalities of a sort, not the same that we would see here. So I could definitely differentiate between everybody in an individual way. So it wasn't like a hive mind or anything weird like that. It was, or not weird, but anything like that. But it was definitely beautiful. And then I started to observe, and, you know, even more things, I guess. But I started to observe that I realized how limited my perception was, even in this form, from having a human life. So I noticed that, like, I started understanding things that I had known before, or at some level. And I noticed that the light spectrum that I could see was greatly diminished. I understood that there were many more colors within that white light that I couldn't perceive. And I knew they were there, but I couldn't perceive them because of my human filters that were still, in play, because I'm still here. And then I started to, just sense everything. And I'm going to check my notes real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh yeah, when I first expanded, I noticed that a wave ran through my body. And most of this spirit journey, I was actually not focused on my body or what was happening with it. So as soon as I expanded and absorbed the very first time entering into the room, or what I think is another dimension, everything with my body got this flood of emotion from what I was experiencing in my journey. So all of those beautiful emotions flooded me, but it was almost like an overload. And I felt my body start to cry. And that kind of separated my focus a little bit. So I drew my focus back to where I was, because it was so beautiful that I wanted to just soak up every bit of it. It felt like home in a way that I really haven't felt in a really long time. And it was so much more. Like, there's so much more that I really can't explain to you about this journey, because it's almost impossible to put it into human terms, into words that you will be able to understand. And maybe in another video I'll be able to do that, but I really don't know that it will happen anytime soon, if at all. So toward the end, I started to realize that I was going to have to come back. And part of me, it was almost like, half of me was like, I'm staying. This is where I want to be. And the other half of me was like, you need to go back. And then my body started sobbing, and it split my attention again. And I'm still there, and I'm still here, and I'm like feeling both at the same time. And those of you who have done journeys will understand how that works. And so I can feel my body just sobbing. And so I focus back up and I'm like, no, I'm going to spend as much of my focus up here as possible until I have to go back. And I could feel the beings around me, which I think are my soul, part of my soul family. I could feel them encouraging without judgment or being pushy for me to go back. And so immediately when I decided to come back, I was in my body and I was sobbing. I was a mess. I was sobbing. I was still feeling the elation of the emotion that was up there. And I was missing being up there in a crazy way. It was the most insane homesickness that I've ever had. And I have homesickness, a feeling of that every so often in my life. So this kind of made that make sense. But yeah, I don't know. So I cried and cried and cried. And then I called my honey and I was like, come down and help me align my chakras, because my throat chakra was just throbbing from all of the crying. And he came down and he didn't want to do chakra alignment. We like to do this one together that's really, really beautiful. And he didn't want to do that, but he gave me a ton of love and then I was better. So that was the first one. And then I took about 30 to 45 minutes outside playing with my hula hoop and listening to this song that really makes me feel activated and kind of processing my experience. And I came back in and I set up in another room and I started the second meditation, which this meditation was about holding a focus. So it was, you select 2 different emotions. And from there, you select 2 different emotions. And from there, I chose love. I was going to choose compassion because that's something that I'm really thinking that the world needs. So I was going to choose compassion. And I heard very clearly from my guides to choose love. So I chose love for the first one and I chose joy for the second one. And what I found through this meditation was, again, it kind of went away from what they were having you do. But initially they had you start with how having more love, which is what I chose, how having more love would affect me as a person and how that would, make a difference in my life. And then they had you move that to your friends and family, how giving them the love more of the love that you have within yourself, how that will affect their lives. And then I think that's where the meditation stopped meeting up because I don't remember actually what happened next with the meditation. So what I saw from my first vision, I already had the understanding that those emotions are states of being because I was embodied in the state of being that encompassed all emotions, or all emotions were encompassed by that state of being. So I had the understanding that love is not just love from the first meditation. And so as I'm giving love to my friends and family, I start to see that I start living in a state of being in love, like being constantly in this love state. And I start making it a regular practice in my everyday life. And it becomes just who I am, part of who I am, to always be in a state of love in this vision. And I start to notice that my friends and family start to spend more time in the state of love because they are orbiting me and I'm in that state of love. And then I also am shown that when you give someone a positive state of being, when you're in a positive state of being and you share it with someone else, something to make them happy or feel good, just because you can, not because you want something, then we are compelled by nature to pass that on. So the whole pay it forward and all of that really is based in a truthful part of our nature. So I started seeing that one person would give it to the next and the next and the next, and it would just become this thing that really spreads. And I also was able to see that that love is a crux for happiness, compassion, empathy, and a lot of other positive emotions. So it's like a catalyst or a crux. It's like where love is, all of these other things stem off of it. But from my first meditation, I already knew that it is possible for multiple, what we would call positive emotions, to be encompassed or, you know, part of another. So that kind of made sense in that way. And then the second one was joy. And, you know, again, it showed the wildfire spreading around the world and everybody living, you know, in joy and finding their joy. And, you know, it starts with a few people and then spreads. They even showed me people that are receiving and starting to live in that moment, you know, traveling overseas or moving to these different countries. And it just spreads and spreads and spreads until eventually we are all living in these really positive states of being. And it's not necessarily a focus that we have to do anymore in the moment. It's something that we actually embody because it has become commonplace for us. And with joy, I found that, checking my notes, with joy, I found that it is a crux or a catalyst for fun, which makes sense, playfulness, which makes sense, and peace. But it also had, peace was really interesting to me because I've been asking about how we get more peace in our life and how we can spread peace around the world. So peace coming from joy was really interesting to me. And, but it also dealt with, it also said that love and bliss come from peace as well. So again, it's showing me all of the interconnectedness of all of these positive states of being and how literally choosing them in your moments on a daily basis and building on that and making that something that you strive toward, maybe not the same one every single day, but all of those positive states of being or emotions, the more you have them, the better you are able to pass them on. And in those moments of passing them on, that is something that I forgot to tell you. So what I saw in the moments of passing them on is that whoever is doing is in the state of being is actually connected to source in a very strong way. Very clear and very strong connection to source when you're feeling love and you're giving it freely to someone else, or when you're feeling joy and you're giving it freely to someone else. And in that moment of giving that to them, with them receiving it, they too are connected to source. And this is why it spreads like a wildfire, because what we really want more than anything, all of these things that we do to give ourselves things and things that we try to acquire, really it all stems from wanting to have a connection with source, God, or the all, and a desire to be connected with source, God, and the all. That's why our connections with each other are so important to us, because there's so many opportunities to receive connection to source through interaction with each other. And so what I found was that when you connect with someone else in this love and joy, you're giving them also the ability to connect to source. And so each time you turn it around, it's this pattern that is created of connecting to source, to where eventually we strive for that own, for that state of being, because of the connection to source, God, or the all, however you want to call it. It's all the same being. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I feel that way. That is my opinion, and that's what I feel to be true. So that's pretty much those two meditations. Realizing that states of being are actually fuller, and there's much more to them than what we know of our emotion that we feel. But that it is possible to live in those moments without being a monk sitting on a mountainside, meditating all day long. Which, who wouldn't want to do that? I don't know. I think that sounds amazing, at least for a little while. But that, it is possible to live in these states of being. And I believe that is true because of the new age that we're in. And that's another video that I'll post up soon. But so yeah, that's the end of my spirit journeys. I hope that you found them interesting. I hope that you, maybe they provoked some thought within you. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Feel free to leave any comments below. Any ideas on topics are welcome also. And much love. I hope wherever you are in your world, everything is beautiful. And we'll chat next time.